Hi there. On behalf of the University of Delhi Foundation, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to this session in which we are going to be in conversation about a very extraordinary human being. Talking about her, Rita Mukherjee is another accomplished individual, her husband, Udayan Mukerji, who is going to be talking about his wife, her achievements, her career, and the wonderful human being that she was. Udayan, welcome to this session.
Thank you, thank you, thank
you. Udayan, we would like to start off by understanding what your career graph has been like. What have you been doing all your life? What is your profession? What have you been doing?
Right, I did my majoring in science. Briefly was a probationary officer in a bank. Then I got into the Indian Police Service. Then the greater part of my career was spent with the Intelligence Bureau.
Oh.
And so when I asked my boss, what do we do in this organization? He said, Udayan, I'll tell you in confidence, on a need-to-know basis. We do nothing, but we do this nothing secretly.
Okay, today we do not plan to do nothing. We plan to do something,
right.
Something which is very good,
right.
And something which will communicate the essence of Rita Mukherjee to the people who are looking at this show. So, how would you describe the journey of Rita Mukherjee from the time when she was also a banker? Incidentally, is that
yes.
where you met?
Right. That's right.
Okay, I thought so. So, from the time she was a banker to the extraordinary work that she did during COVID. Just briefly tell us that, and then point by point we'll go over each of these sessions.
Okay. She was an extraordinary student, to begin with, of course. She consistently topped the list of women candidates, both in the school board and in college. Then she got into banking as a probationary officer. She spent quite a few years in the bank, rose steadily to become the manager of one of the larger branches at South Extension Part 1 in Delhi. And she did extremely well. At about the time when she was doing extremely well, Rita suddenly realized that she wanted more out of life. To use a management jargon, she wanted to self-actualize herself. So in that search for self-actualization, in her search for achieving her hierarchy of needs, as she would keep telling me, Maslow's, she decided to do her MBA from the FMS.
Right.
She did that in '89. She did very well. After which, she suddenly felt the confidence in herself that it was not merely banking and finance that she was cut out for. She could handle much larger projects. She could look into larger horizons of management, and she set out to do that. She then took over as managing director in the Indian subsidiary of an Australian multinational,
right,
which was into large multifarious infrastructure projects. So, after she joined them, the company executed very important projects in the area of port development, highways, environment, power. She carried on for almost all of 8 years or 9 years. Then, when the company sort of exited from India, she was approached by Hindustan Unilever Limited. They were looking for somebody who was not and I do not mean the term pejoratively, I would mean it as a generic term. They were not looking for somebody with a Lala background. I repeat, this is not pejorative in any sense of the term.
No, but all management graduates tend to speak of it in a certain way. I'm quite aware of that.
So they were searching for somebody who had management qualifications and who was a professional.
Right.
So they selected her, and they selected her as a client service provider, CSP, which basically meant her company would cater to the largest outlets in North India. So, which she did. So at one point of time, she was the single largest service provider in the whole of North India for the entire range of Hindustan Unilever products. The turnover went into hundreds of crores, and she had a large staff. In the midst of it all, she did a lot of other things as well.
We'll talk about
Her life was, yes, diverse.
Yes.
It was full. And I would be very much at fault to mention that in the midst of all this, her family was her love, her life, and her affection and her love for not only for life, but for the people around her, was unbounded. Maybe I have a bias to you as a husband, but that is what people who came in touch with her would regularly say.
Folks, it's really sad that we are speaking of such a wonderful human being in terms of was instead of speaking of her in the is, because we unfortunately lost her in 2023.
That's right.
Why we are here today to talk about her achievements, her life, and why I, as an author, am speaking to a police service officer about Rita Mukherjee is because both of us I and Rita share the fact that we are both from the Faculty of Management Studies. We both passed out from there, and as an ex-FMS alumnus, I was thought the right person to talk about her achievements and her life. And I'm really blessed because it has enabled me to come in, get in touch with another wonderful human being, Udayan here.
Thank you.
So I think I'm blessed. And Delhi University and the Faculty of Management Studies are doubly blessed because the trust which Udayan has set up in memory of his late wife, the Rita Bhargava Mukerji Charitable Foundation, has very generously donated an amount of rupees 5 crores to the Faculty of Management Studies for further expansion. It's a great gesture, and it's something which generations of students who are going to come to the Faculty of Management Studies are going to be blessed by.
Thank you, sir.
And they are going to take her legacy forward.
Thank you, sir.
That's a wonderful thing you have done, Udayan, and permit me to shake your hand and congratulate you on this superb gesture.
Thank you, sir.
Superb gesture.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Now shall we get back to talking of Rita? Okay. Now what kind of human being was Rita? What kind of person was she?
Rita was an intensely intelligent and at the same time a very emotional human being. As I said, family, relations, her colleagues. And when I say colleagues, people on her team who would apparently not matter for much, would matter immensely to her. God forbid if somebody while driving a motorcycle fell down, she wouldn't sleep that night. Did he receive attention? Was he taken to the right hospital? Does he need long leave? In which case, who looks after what? So she had this enormously charitable outlook in life, but more importantly, she was a person who felt deeply for people and things and occurrences and happenings around her. She was also intensely curious about life. For example, there were puzzles, there were crosswords, there was anything which would tax the intelligence and the imagination. And also she would be very interested in seeing that she was not earning money for the sake of money alone, that it was, and this is not a cliche mind you, she did it. And also to ensure that the money that was coming in was also going out in a steady stream to people who had not been fortunate enough to, be comfortable in life.
We would like to dwell on that in detail.
Right.
A little bit later.
She cared intensely for relatives, and I can tell you the truth that anyone who has come in contact with her at any point in life, and I say it without even minimalistic exaggeration, shed a few tears upon learning of her passing away. She had that kind of love for people. She had that kind of, as a matter of fact, it's a very small incident.
Please.
There was a gentleman who was in charge of one of those, cell phone service provider company, AGM or something. So he would meet her off and on. Just the other day, he suddenly dropped in and he had not heard of her passing away.
Oh.
And he dropped in, went straight to her office. He would say hello and sit down and have a cup of tea, etc. And then suddenly I was told that he had come. So I left my office and went over there. And I saw him sitting there brooding and weeping. Now for people who were generally distant in terms of the age, he had no daily interaction with them. Even those people felt immensely emotionally moved when they heard that Rita was not around. So that's the kind of person she was.
If you could actually put it together in a few words, she was a good human being. That's so rare nowadays that even saying those words seems cliche. Otherwise, we would think that was the default condition of human beings. But it is unfortunately a very rare condition. And that is why people who are even unconnected to her on a daily basis would shed a tear or two knowing she's no longer around. That kind of thing.
That's very true.
You've spoken some time back about how the management faculty actually brought about a complete shift in attitudes and a shift in her life when she finished her MBA. Now, to what do you, what is it exactly that happened which makes you think so?
She discovered herself.
Yeah.
Discovered herself in the way that she felt that hitherto her entire thought process of what she could do, apart from charity and welfare works and going out to relative outreach to people, was to handle finance. And finance alone. And that too in the limited this thing of banking.
Banking, right.
It was FMS. And I'm telling you this because I know it, she told me, the faculty of FMS at that time. I'm not going to name names right now, but there were certain faculty members who absolutely opened her eyes to the potential she had within her.
Oh.
Right? And so she said, I am capable of managing, doing something which is beyond the current horizon.
Right.
This impulsive forward motion, as you can call it, this acceleration, this breaking of the inertia that existed until then, this was entirely the gift of the FMS.
Right.
And mind you, the friends she made in her FMS batch remained friends to her dying day. She learned to be friends. She was a great friend to everybody, but she further learned the value of friendship. I was away in a posting in Gujarat, and there were 3 of her friends, and she used to finish her bank, go in the evening to the old campus, the original, the FMS, and then she would come back late at night. And she was given security and comfort by these classmates, who would assiduously see to it that they would take her home first, drop her home first, and then go their way. So all of this, companionship, friendship, forging and carrying a team, and realizing greater objectives. So she then went on, as I said, to execute a number of projects on behalf of the Australian company. This was a unique gift which FMS conferred upon her, and which also motivated her into telling her daughter several years later that if you've got to do MBA, go to the FMS.
How nice. Your son-in-law is also from...
My son-in-law is also a classmate of my daughter.
Acha.
Both were classmates. So
what year did Rita finish her MBA?
Rita finished in 89.
And your
2001.
Right.
So
that was a major change, major shift in her attitudes, major shift in her realization of her own potential, which actually took place because of the Faculty of Management stuff.
100%.
And I think just as she carried FMS in her all through her life,
She did.
now because of your generosity and the generosity of your trust for something which you just told me, Rita करवा रही है, मैं तो सिर्फ कर रहा हूँ. So FMS is also going to carry Rita Mukerji in her hearts all through the years that
Thank
are
you,
going to be there.
Thank
and
you,
I think
sir.
that's a blessing
Thank you.
which all of us have got.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
So now let's talk about the extraordinary work that she did during COVID. This is something which is very interesting, and the way she managed this thing. I'd like you to speak more about her work during the COVID times.
Okay. When COVID broke out, a large number of restrictions were imposed. And there was general confusion throughout. Curfew passes, movement passes, delivery passes, this pass, that pass. And even to move from Gurgaon, you need another pass. To Faridabad, you need a different kind of a pass. And the enforcers of those restrictions were very free with their large sticks.
Yes.
So, she realized that hand sanitizers, cleansers, disinfectants, napkins, and a lot of such products which the HUL, Hindustan Unilever, manufactured and supplied were in extreme short supply. People were lining up at stores and still they were not getting, and you would not believe it, there was a premium on hand sanitizers at that period of time. So she told her team that this is the time when I would expect you and me, all of us, to work if necessary 24 hours at a stretch, they said, what about the difficulties we'll face, passes and things. She said, I will personally talk to those concerned. I will go to them if need be, but still there will be occasions when you might face humiliation. And they did. When an occasional stick might land on your back, I'll feel the pain as much as you do. But right now we need to ensure that people do not die or suffer because they do not receive basic protection. Right? So she set up a team, then she set up a control room kind of a thing, which would constantly receive inputs on which team was moving where. So she also put in, cell phone reporting systems where everybody, salesmen, sales team, godown keepers, delivery boys, would each use their telephone and report in as to where they were. She would cross-check with the outlet that the team was reporting correctly, and there was this system where she had developed a system whereby people sitting in her office would be able to map.
Oh, who's where?
And I remember Rita would, work ceaselessly at midnight, past midnight, and then early in the morning she'd be working past midnight, and early in the morning she would be up at it again. She would ask me, talk to so and so, DIG, talk to so and so, and I said, look, I am retired, Buddha ho gaya hoon. They may or may not listen to me. He said, crumbs, you're utterly useless. She would pick up the phone and call people herself, but she did it, and her team rose marvelously. I would be very unfair if I do not mention her team. Her team, without that team, Rita would not have succeeded. Rita led the team, but the team responded magnificently. It responded absolutely brilliantly. And the team suffered injuries, ignominy, insult, long hours, the risk of incurring COVID themselves. Right? But she ensured that people got vaccinated when the vaccines turned up. So all of that she did, and I think that was a huge point in her life. See, earlier in her life she had been conferred the Bharat Nirman Award and the Mahila Shiromani Award for entrepreneurship. If you ask me, I would tell her कि तेरे को award अगर मिलना था तो इसके लिए मिलना था.
No, it's right that the team would have responded well, but any team is only as good as the leadership that is provided.
Of course, obviously.
So we cannot, whereas we are right in thanking the team and appreciating their efforts, we cannot, ignore the magnificent leadership that she would have provided.
That's true.
Because the team is only as good as the support it gets.
That's true.
So if it knows there's somebody standing behind me to take care of all problems that may arise, they would rise to the occasion.
That's very true.
That's really something inspiring. It's extremely inspiring. And it gives us an insight into the kind of person Rita Mukherji was. Because it was for a cause that she was doing it. It was not for the business, it was not for the money she was making. It was a cause for which she rose and she performed magnificently. I mean, I must say that.
Thank you, sir.
This is all
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I also understand that she was involved with many charities. Now, what are the kind of causes that were dear to her?
There were two things about this. The one, she insisted that it should be anonymous.
Oh, that's good.
She would not like any charity to, carry a standard wearing her name or announcing, that she was. But her charities were various. For example, she gave massively twice or thrice to organizations that married off destitute women.
Achha.
Community marriage of destitute women. So, whatever was required for the marriage, apparel, etc., this thing, that thing, etc., 200 women getting married, 300 women getting married, she would do that. She did that twice or thrice. Then there were old age homes.
Achha.
And homes where, people would be picked up from the streets in rags and, tatters, and who would be cared for by these homes. She would first do due diligence, whether the home that she was interested in was genuinely doing what it claimed to be doing. Upon being satisfied, she would go and give liberally. She would give liberally to these people, regardless of, she seldom cared for the amount. Another third major area of charity which she indulged in was the education of the girl child. Now, it is being tom-tommed enormously these days, but those days, nobody spoke about it. It wasn't all that much of a, current issue. It was not a current issue, but at that time, she would go, and there were organizations which were training girls from orphanages or from very poor families, pauperized families, and then she would say and go to the organization and tell them who are the brighter ones, who are likely to make a career for themselves, who are likely to study and to stay with the study, to stay on the path of studies. Once they had been identified, she would drag me along. Interview karenge, but she would drag me along nevertheless. And after interviewing 5, 10, 15 girls, whatever, every year. And then she would say, all right, where do they want to go? Okay, this is the fees for the next 3 years. This is what will be required for books. This will be required for, clothes, etc. Lump sum, give it. Subject to the condition, I want their test and progress reports on a periodic basis. And that she would always unload on me. She look at it and tell me, is it going well? So she had this immense love for people. I think charity was not her objective. Her objective was love for people. So all that she did was out of that effluence of that love. That, she was not doing it, mujhe charity karni hai, as like a notch or a tick, like ticking off something. No, she loved people. So she would go out and do it. So these were acts of charity. She spent substantial amounts. And of course, the langar is a routine thing, Her organization would have 2 or 3 of those langars every year, but that so many people do. Langar, I think everybody knows what langar is, especially anybody who lives in Delhi.
Yeah.
So those langars were routine things, any number of langars, but I'll not dwell on that.
But you know what, Udayan, listening to you speak about her and the kind of attitude that she had towards giving, I think even the word charity is rather misplaced. Because charity is one of those, Facebook, Instagram words now, which is currently in vogue, in which you do charity because you want to be seen as doing charity. So rare is the individual who does not want to be seen, but does it out of the goodness of the heart. So that is something that I am carrying as a memory of a Rita Mukherjee I've never met. And somebody so good of heart that she would like to do things because they are the right things to do, or not because she wants to be seen doing things and adding to her social media profile. That kind of thing. That is the impression I carry away.
Thank you, sir.
So Udayan, this generous donation that you have now given to the University of Delhi, you've done it through the University of Delhi Foundation. Now I'd like to ask you about how you got in touch with them and how did the whole process catalyze, and what did you feel about the way they handled this whole thing?
Okay. There's a large amount of serendipity involved in this.
Sure.
A senior colleague and almost my elder brother mentioned to me in passing, she said, Rita would have wished to do something for the FMS and for the university. So when he mentioned that, I said to somebody, do you know somebody in the Delhi University with whom we could get in touch? And lo and behold, we had the enormous good fortune that the first person we came across was Professor Anil Kumar of the foundation, the Delhi University Foundation, or rather the University of Delhi Foundation.
Yes.
I will not hesitate to say, and I will not mince many words in saying, that his response was not that of an academician. His response was that of a very efficient manager. Extremely efficient manager, a person who has vision, who has initiative, and who can take decisions very quickly. So one meeting he had with us, the next meeting within 3 days he had organized with the Vice Chancellor, and lo and behold, he was there at the meeting himself, he had organized and set it up, and lo and behold at that meeting the Vice Chancellor very kindly showed us the blueprints of a project which was coming up, and we discussed there. We actually carried on discussions that we had with Professor Anil Kumar earlier, carried them on in his presence again, and he said, okay, let's do it.
How nice.
5 days later, I received a formal letter of approval from the foundation. God bless the foundation, because I have not experienced such efficiency elsewhere. In 99% of the places, let me be very honest. I am also hoping that we'll be able to join hands with Professor Anil Kumar and with the University of Delhi to do something else for the students also as we go along. And as I keep saying, it is not we the trust that are doing, it is something that Rita is getting done through us. Right? We are merely the instrumentality. I will not arrogate to ourselves either the capacity or the willpower to do all these things.
Not take the credit for it.
We just cannot take the credit for it. It's all her doing. She has done it. And we are very fortunate to have in our path come across people like Professor Anil Kumar, who has been a blessing in more ways than one. And not to mention today this interview with you, which has been a complete pleasure, I assure you. Complete pleasure. Knowing you, talking to you, has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. So I think what you are doing, and in memory of her, the trust that you have set up, would this trust also be doing similar kinds of work? What are the things that you are looking forward to doing with the Rita Bhargava Mukerji Charitable Foundation Trust?
As a matter of fact, we have trustees as well, very respectable people. This trust would be open to doing all that she would have loved to do. So we are not going to compartmentalize this trust into anything particular. There would be, hopefully, we'll be able to institute scholarships for deserving people. She was very much interested in elderly and uncared for people. So a large part of the commitment of this trust would also go to seeing that the aged and the impoverished are taken care of to the extent that this trust can do. And mind you, this trust is not even a drop in the ocean. So for me to say that we'll be achieving a good deal would be untrue. But we'll try our best within those limited resources to do whatever she wanted to do herself and to keep doing it in good measure. That is...
It's never about, don't you agree that it's never about being able to do everything, because nobody can do everything except on Facebook or Instagram. Everywhere else you can only add your little drop to the ocean in the hope that many more such people adding drops to the ocean will make the ocean less salty. So that's what you're trying to do. So don't say it's just going to be a drop. That drop matters. That single drop matters. That is the best you can do. Isn't it?
Thank you.
So in a way, this contribution to the Faculty of Management Studies is an extension of her work, isn't it? And
the love she had for this place.
For this place, exactly. Because of the transforming effect it had on her life. And I'm sure that the infrastructure which is going to get added with the generous donation that you've made is going to create the same impact in many other lives in the years to come. So, thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking about this.
The pleasure has been all mine.
This magnificent human being, and we are all blessed to have heard about her. And I do quite hope that all the generations of students who come to the Faculty of Management and are part of the Rita Mukerji block would carry at least a small part of her value system with them when they depart from FMS, and they continue to make a difference in the world exactly as Rita Mukerji would have wanted to. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.